Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and this is the HTC One X for AT&T. This is one of HTC's new high-end phones. In fact, part of their whole reinvented way of doing things with higher-end phones, making fewer devices in the Android range for 2012. And this guy has a whole lot going for it. We've got a new Qualcomm Crate S4 CPU in here, dual core, very fast. We've got a 720p display, LTE, and a very nice camera. The HTC One X is going to be available at the beginning of May on AT&T for $199 with contract, and it's going to be pretty affordable without contract too. It's available in white or gray, and this is a polycarbonate shell. This is a unibody design, one piece of polycarbonate here. Continuous everywhere, and that means the battery is sealed inside. A little hard to see unless you're looking at it in person, but the sides are gloss, we assume to avoid schmutz, fingerprints, grime, what have you. And the back is a matte finish. So far we haven't had to pick up a lot of dirt. Matte white finishes sometimes can be dangerous in that way. We'll wait and see. We have noticed when we get a little bit of dirt on it here and there, it cleans off with a damp rag very nicely. Since this is cut from one piece of polycarbonate, there's no inset grill here. You can see the speaker grill holes are actually just drilled right into the polycarbonate, a lot like the HTC One S, which is made of metal, but they did the same thing. One piece, drilled all the holes that they needed. Here's your optional dock connector right here, those pins. Your 8-megapixel camera that can shoot 1080p video with continuous autofocus. We'll go into that in detail, and that's the LED flash. This is your micro SIM card slot. You just yank this guy up with your fingernail, and then there's your micro SIM. Headphone jack. On this side, here's your micro USB port, which works with an optional MHL adapter to output HDMI. Volume rockers are here. Power buttons up top, a pretty logical place for that. And you can see the glass display here actually wraps around, again, like the HTC One S. It's a very neat effect. It makes it look like the picture for your desktop is actually just painted on here. And since the phone rises a little bit here and here, we hope that it protects those fairly exposed glass edges. Very curved, very nice feeling. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful looking phone. And surprisingly, it's not that large, given the fact that this is a 4.7-inch 720p display. That means 1280 by 720 pixels, and it's a super LCD display, which means no pentile matrix for those of you who really hate pentile matrices and those visible pixels. And that's higher than 300 dpi, so we're talking you're not going to be able to spot individual pixels here unless you have one heck of a pair of eyes. And just to show you how actually not large a phone this is for a 4.7-inch phone, here's the HTC One S, which is a 4.3-inch phone. Pretty much the same design, again, has a metal casing instead and a Super AMOLED display, but there's really not much of a difference in size. So you're not really putting up with a whole lot of bulk in your pocket just to get that bigger display. HTC is very good at making these big 4.7-inch phones and having them not look that large. Look at the HTC Titan and Titan II Windows phones. And here we have it with the lovely Nokia Lumia 900, obviously in cyan. That's a 4.3-inch screen phone, but again, we're not talking much larger. Both of these happen to have polycarbonate shells, but obviously they have their very own distinctive design cues, so you're never going to mix these guys up. And here's the back view of these two phones. And here we have it next to the Samsung Galaxy S2 Skyrocket, another AT&T LTE Android phone. It has a 4.5-inch display. The HTC is just a little bit bigger. And Skyrocket, of course, like all Samsung phones, is very thin, and you can see right there they're neck and neck on thinness. They're pretty close. Alright, now we've covered the looks, the build quality, which is excellent. So what else is so special about this phone? Well, it runs Android OS 4.0 Ice Cream Sandwich out of the box. You don't have to wait for an upgrade. Woohoo! Finally, right? And it's running on a dual-core Snapdragon 1.5 gigahertz CPU, but this is the new S4 Crate CPU, 32 nanometer. So that means lower power, but faster speeds, Adreno 220 graphics, a very good performer that really gives the Tegra 3 used in the overseas version a run for its money. In fact, Tegra 3 used in some tablets. So we're not really feeling kind of left out here because we don't get the Tegra 3 in the US. And why don't we, by the way? Well, that's because NVIDIA and Qualcomm makes the LTE radios, aren't really very friendly there for competitive reasons, obviously, so they're not giving NVIDIA much help on getting LTE chipsets running up on the Tegra 3. So here in the US, where carriers love their LTE, well, we get the Qualcomm S4 Snapdragon CPU. In terms of synthetic benchmarks, on Quadrant it does 5,000, which is actually slightly higher than the Tegra 3. And on Tutu it does 7,070, also a very strong showing, maybe not quite as high as the Tegra 3 there. And in GL Benchmark 2.1, the Egypt off-screen test, we're looking at 59 FIPS, which is very good. So you've got a very powerful phone here. It supports things like Dolby 5.1 audio, that kind of thing. That said, that through the MHL adapter, we did plug this into our Sony AV receiver, and we only got 2 channels out, so we're not sure what's up with that. That may be what happens when you have to go through the MHL adapter as a translator, and that MHL adapter, again, plugs into the micro USB port. You have to plug your charger into that, and then you plug a full-size HDMI cable in, and those adapters are available for around 20 bucks or so at carrier stores and online. It also supports DLNA, so you can do wireless streaming, and HTC is working on their own new streaming solution, wireless streaming, and we'll wait to see that available in this country too. That'll be a little module that you hook up to your TV set to supposedly make things easier to stream. The phone has the usual 1 gig of RAM, and it has 16 gigs of internal storage. Of course, not all that's available for your use, and there is no micro SD card slot. Everybody likes to follow the iPhone now and not give you expandable storage, for better or worse. It has the usual Wi-Fi 802.11 BGN. We had no problems with reception on Wi-Fi on this. Bluetooth 2.1 plus EDR, and a GPS with assisted GPS that worked fine with AT&T Navigator and Google Maps. As you can see, though, we're running ICS on here. It's not a super vanilla version of ICS because we have HTC Sense 4 on here. Now, with every iteration of Sense lately, they're toning it down, and we think they've done a really lovely job of keeping some of the good stuff while letting the beauty of the new ICS OS show up. For example, you drag down here from the taskbar, and there's your quick access to settings, which is a standard thing for ICS. But they've customized the look a little bit here, made it a little bit neater, and then you get kind of neat effects. You see how that pulls apart to tell you you're reached the end of the line. And obviously we have the capacitive buttons down here. That's not a requirement for Android 4.0, but a lot of manufacturers are still adding them. I think they fit in the comfort zone of a lot of folks who are used to having those hardware buttons to access easily. If you're in the app drawer, instead of seeing the usual separation of apps and widgets, which I'm not sure is the most intuitive for a lot of people, we've got the HTC approach, which is the tabbed selection. You can either look at all your applications here, and this scrolls sideways, your frequently accessed applications, just the ones you've downloaded, and supporting the Android ubiquitous menu function right here, we've got, you can manage your apps, you can edit your tabs, and you can go directly to the Google Play Store to download more software. It wouldn't be an HTC device without their weather and clock widget built in over here. We've got a couple of their standard widgets. We've got FriendStream for social networking going on. Their music controller, so you can turn music playback on and off right from your home screen. HTC Watch if you want to rent or buy movies from HTC's rental service. And by the way, if you don't want any of these guys, you just press and hold, and you can go up to remove. Gone. Now we've got some AT&T stuff on board as well. We've got their inescapable Yellow Pages mobile, live TV for streaming TV shows powered by MobiTV, AT&T barcode scanner, AT&T Navigator, My AT&T. The usual boatload of AT&T stuff is on board here. And since this is Ice Cream Sandwich, say you feel like your Facebook and Twitter really ought to be together in the same folder on your home screen, just drag one on top of the other, and we've created a new folder. And if you tap on that, you can tap on the name, and you can rename it Social Networking, for example. Now you can't do that in the app drawer. You can't drag icons on top of each other and create folders here like you can in Samsung using their TouchWiz overlay. And of course this wouldn't be HTC Sense without their very useful and cool lock screen. Here we've just woken up the phone. You can see we can quickly just drag an app to our lock ring here, and you can choose which apps these are. Phone, messages, camera here by default, and the internet browser. So say we just want to go straight to making a phone call. And there we have it. And you can see here's the nice large on-screen dialer, and recent calls listed up top here. You've got quick access to your contacts, call history, and to any calling groups that you've created. And speaking of the phone, call quality on this is very good, both incoming and outgoing voice. Very clear, very easy to understand, full. Good noise rejection thanks to the multiple microphones and DSP setup here. And voice volume is a little bit above average on the handset, but pretty much your average GSM phone, which means it gets reasonably loud, but if you're in a very noisy location, you probably need to turn that speaker on the back. Or use a headset, of course. So as a voice phone, we can definitely recommend the HTC One X. Data speeds also quite good. Now, my Samsung Galaxy S2 Skyrocket has some of the fastest data speeds. Samsung is very good at getting fast data speeds out of their phone, and, well, this guy is beating it. And we'll look at our test results right here, and you can see some of the numbers we've been getting. Crazy, right? Now, the numbers you see over 30 megabit per second here and over 20 for upload, when we had a pretty good signal around 70 dB to 75 dB, which is a pretty reasonably strong signal, not the maximum best signal you can get on LTE. And the lower numbers, which are still quite impressive, are with a fairly weak negative 95 dB signal. So, wow. Very, very fast data. This is faster than most people's home ISP connection or Wi-Fi connection. Great stuff. Apps just download instantly. No problem whatsoever there. And the phone has the usual mobile hotspot feature. If you go with AT&T's higher tier data plan, that's included the tethering, and you can use this as a hotspot for up to 5 clients, tablets, laptops, what have you. As you can see so far, the phone's been very fast and responsive. The CPU and GPU here are very powerful, and certainly Sense is not burdening it in any way. With a gig of RAM, you've got enough RAM to run most anything. The web browser is fast and responsive. Now, some of this is going to have to do with the speed of your data connection. Here we have good fast LTE, so you don't see any of that checkerboarding or anything like that going on when you're scrolling pages. And here you can see HTC's on-screen keyboard. We're about to enter a different URL. That's the usual nice large keyboard. You can press and hold to get numbers and symbols and stuff like that too. And you've got a .com shortcut and your speech recognition button right there. And now we've got our own website loaded up, the full desktop version. The scrolling speed is pretty good. We've got a lot of Flash ads running here right now. And that can have an effect because we've got Flash completely turned on. And it's very sharp and easy to read, and thanks to the large display, besides, you're just not going to have much difficulty reading even a desktop web page on this if your eyes are reasonably good. Let's see how it does for Flash playback. We'll look at our Transformer Pad TF300 video review. And you can hear the speaker volume. It's okay. It's not super duper impressive. You got Beats Audio, but that only takes effect when you plug in headphones.
For Mobile Tech Review, and today we're going to take a look at the Asus Transformer Pad TF300.
And it's playing just fine.
This guy right here, and its companion dock. It is in the Transformer series, and it's a more affordable version of the Prime.
And then we've got a full screen, no problem.
Wrong with the Prime, so that way.
And speaking of Beats Audio and sound, if you plug in any set of headphones, doesn't have to be Beats brand headphones. You can go to your sound enhancer setting to access Beats Audio. You can choose the Beats Audio setting. You can go classical, bass boost, vocal treble, live dance, warmth, sweetener. So there's a variety of effects here that, for those of you who don't like the Beats Audio with its heavier bass, you got options here. So it's certainly just fine, though. I don't mind the Beats so much if I'm listening to popular music. Classical, obviously not the most ideal choice. In the headphone jack, you can see up top here, one thing that concerns me a little bit is the curve away of the body. It leaves the back of the headphone connector, the metal sleeve here, exposed a little bit. Now, I actually tried tapping on that using other pieces of metal, like keys in your pocket kind of thing, to touch it, and I didn't get any audio blipping in my ear, but still, that would be a point of concern. You might want to not keep anything metal in your pocket with this while it's playing music, lest it short out and pop and crackle in your ear. In terms of preloaded applications, as we said, you get the usual collection of AT&T applications here. And we've got HTC's, obviously, their Sense and their Peep social networking software, their Hub, so you can download more content, home screen wallpapers, sounds, that kind of thing, some applications that they recommend. We've got Mog Music on board, and we have the HTC Music Player, which is actually a really nice music player. Of course, Google Play Music's also on board if you prefer that, but you can see you can integrate other applications. They've got SoundHound integrated right here, TuneIn Radio, Mog Music, and you can add more if you want, which is a pretty handy thing for one-stop music. And you can see here's some music that I've copied onto the device, and it's done a good job of finding album art. Some of these things came from my iTunes library, and they never had any album art, so pretty good there. And we're going to play a tune. Just tap on the title. Nice interface, good set of controls, and you got the SoundHound Get Info button right here. So it's going to sample the song and tell us what it knows about the song and the artist. So now we've got tour dates. We can search YouTube for Regina Spektor, look for similar artists, and we've got the lyrics scrolling for the song, all integrated in the music player. So that's pretty nice stuff. And it plays in the background, and you can see the little play symbol right up there. You can just control it right here. I can pause it if I want to, and there's also a home screen widget to control that. And let's get that playing again. If we turn the screen off and turn it on, here's our playback controls. So nicely done. For gaming, we have a link to Top HD Games. That's related to Gameloft store. So obviously Gameloft has some support here. There's not a huge number of titles yet, but then the phone is not going to be out for another week here, folks. So definitely we got a good start right there. And we downloaded a few games and tested them out. You've got Death Rally running right here, so you can see how that plays. So it plays Death Rally, a pretty nice looking game, very well. Not the easiest game to control though, boy. I don't know how you guys do with this, but I would certainly like less sensitive steering. Obviously you can handle Adobe Flash Player playback. It has the built-in YouTube player, which plays regular and HD YouTube content. And we've got some locally stored movie trailers here. These are 1080p MPEG-4 high-profile 5.1 audio clips. Obviously we're not going to get 5.1 audio out of this speaker, but
well, I can honestly say I have told you the truth. I may not have told you all of it. Wilbur Baggins. I'm looking for someone to share in an adventure.
so there's 1080p video, actually higher resolution than the 720p display. But if you're going to do that HDMI out thing or DLNA, then it can be handy to know that it does it very handily. Since you've got a big 4.7-inch display here, high DPI, let's take a look at how books look. We've got Google Play Books here. And it's downloading this from the interwebs. And there we are. Very nice white display here. Not overly white, not blue like some Super AMOLED or Super AMOLED Plus displays. That's one thing that's nice about Super LCDs. They're pretty color accurate, they're fairly color neutral, and they make for a very nice reading experience. Contrast is good here. Brightness is certainly fine, and generally when you're reading a book you don't want to crank up the brightness too high. Text is very sharp. Page turns are obviously going to be fine. This is more than powerful enough to handle page turns on ebooks. So definitely a good time for those of you who want to use Google Play Books, Nook, or Kindle application, or any other reader application on this. And now, we don't have this pretty orchid in the picture because we think it goes great with the home screen because, well, it does, but we're actually going to show you how the camera works. And this is going to be our photo subject. So here you can see you have the usual quick access to gallery, a big old shutter button right here, and a switch to video button, and see how quickly it can focus and take a picture. Well, it's basically instant. And if we want to switch to shooting video, this shoots 1080p video, continuous autofocus, stereo. You can see the minute that we switch, it actually turned on recording, so be ready for that. And while we're shooting this video, we can actually hit the shutter button right here and take pictures. And there it just appeared down here. So, pretty neat trick, right? And we'll check out how that video came out. It's pretty good audio recording quality. So it records 30 fps video very smoothly. Shooting photos has no effect on that whatsoever. And there's some of the photos that we shot. Nice detail. Very nice camera. Definitely up there with the iPhone 4S. 8 megapixel rear main camera. Is it the best camera we've ever seen? I'll stop short of saying that. No, it's not. The HTC Titan II with the 16 megapixel camera takes even sharper photos and has better red exposure. And we'll get over to a red photo so you can see what I mean. So here's a photo that we took of some lovely red roses outdoors, and the leaf detail is great. Anything green is wonderful, but you can see red blooms a lot, which is a problem that we noticed with the HTC One S on T-Mobile as well. So red bloom is not an unusual problem for digital cameras, but the HTC One phones have a pretty bad case of it. So if you're in love with red roses, red buses, red whatever, keep in mind you're going to lose some detail there. But other than that, like I said, you can see the detail in the leaves here is just exceptional. Lovely. Good color, good contrast, good exposure. Everything else is nice. The camera can also do a couple of neat tricks, like shoot slow-mo video. It has HDR shooting, just like the iPhone, so you can get the best possible exposure. And there's lots of settings also. That funny little bubble over here is a bunch of effects: vignetting, distortion, depth of field effects, vintage warm. You can be your own little Instagram here with these. And for more traditional settings, you got things like your self-timer, image resolution, video quality, review duration, ISO, white point, balance, auto upload if you want to use that. So plenty of stuff here for the novice and the serious shutterbug alike to keep themselves entertained. The HTC One X has an 1800 milliamp lithium-ion battery that's sealed inside, unibody design. There's no getting to that battery to swap out a new one. Fortunately, that's a fairly good capacity battery that's competitive with other LTE smartphones on AT&T and other carriers. Now, when you mix in the latest, greatest fast CPU, a very large high-resolution display, and LTE, we don't have great expectations for battery life, but so far this is really impressive. I've made it through the day with moderate use easily, and that includes 30 minutes of phone calls, 30 minutes of streaming video playback, an hour music playback with the screen off, plenty of web browsing, social networking, updates and checking, and push email turned on. So it's done pretty well. The only thing that I notice that can really hit the battery hard is gaming. If you're into 3D gaming or even some 2D casual gaming, it can be hard on the battery. Particularly, I've noticed that some casual games, city builders, kingdom builders, those fantasy kind of games, they run in the background. They're always updating, reminding you when it's time to harvest your crops, whatever. Boy, that can really drain the battery quickly on this. So you might want to use a handy-dandy task manager that HTC includes to actually kill those and not have them running all the time in the background. But other than that, so far we've enjoyed pretty solid battery life. So that's the HTC One X, available on AT&T, latest Qualcomm S4 processor, beautiful Super LCD 720p display, 4.7 inches, yet the phone's not too large, striking polycarbonate design, available in white or gray, excellent build quality, fast data speeds on LTE network, and very good voice quality as well. You've got the latest, greatest ice cream sandwich on board here, and the most recent revision of HTC Sense, which I like quite a lot. I feel that it adds something to the phone without kind of overstepping its bounds and burying ice cream sandwich, so you can't see what the new elements of the UI are there. The phone is certainly very fast. It takes very nice 1080p video, continuous focus, as you saw. Very nice photos. Okay, it's not so good on shooting things that are red, but other than that, very good camera. It's an easy phone to recommend for $199 on contract. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Don't forget to visit our website and read the full written review of the HTC One X and subscribe to our YouTube channel.